Welcome back to NoPlan. Today we've got a build video for you. Now, as you may have noticed, this is not a new case, and in fact, most of these parts aren't new. This was a GPU that was swapped out for a better one, an old motherboard and CPU and RAM, backup power supply, and this case. And what we want to do is build an editing rig for Caution Glass, and all we need to do to get that done is buy a CPU cooler and a M.2 SSD from Best Buy. So this makes this build only $110. Hyper 212 Black, a Samsung 990 EVO, 1 terabyte. So with those out of the way, let's go ahead and lower this case down and get the top off. I've had this case, boy, probably 7 years. I haven't used it for a long time. The fans do take a older connector, but we'll figure out a way. The motherboard, it is an MSI Z370 Gaming Plus, and this is an 8700, and it's 32 gigabytes of 3000 megahertz DDR4 RAM. As an anecdotal note, this cooler in particular requires you to put a backplate underneath it before you install the cooler. So now that we have this part installed back here, which I completely forgot because I've actually only really built with AMD recently, I'm going to use some isopropyl alcohol and a paper towel to go ahead and clean off the processor to go ahead and confirm that I did not get scammed on my trade. It is indeed an 8700. Since the bracket, like nothing's holding this in except me, I'll need to install the CPU cooler out of the machine so that way it'll be way easier. So it's interesting, this one doesn't have any paste, which is why it came with its own paste, but I'm gonna go ahead and use this one right here. This is one I just got from Newegg. It is PK3, as I do not have my Arctic Silver with me. Gob, and then we'll kind of squeeze the rest out. You don't want to put too much tension, and like I'm not screwing down any of these like all the way. I'm just getting them a little bit each time. And you don't tight, like you do it like once it just doesn't move anymore, that's it. Don't like honk it down. And I did have to take off my fan, but I'm just gonna put that on right here because very easy. And then we can go ahead and plug in the CPU fan right at the top, and we'll just hide these wires up there. And while it's out, we might as well go ahead and install our Samsung M.2 drive. Put this right here. Alrighty, M.2 installed. So now let's go ahead and put this in the case. Someone's definitely gonna be upset that I lowered it down with the CPU cooler. Alrighty, so the motherboard is all screwed in. So now we're gonna go for the power supply. This is the EVGA, 1000 watts. Oh, wait. Oh, so this is 750 watts, not 1000 watts. I was misinformed by the label. Before we install it, let's go ahead and get every cable we need. That should be everything, like so. And I like to use thumb screws to secure in the power supply because if you inevitably, it's one of the few pieces of a computer that might need replacing. Now we have our little 3060, which is kind of funny that it's like, it works out perfectly for this build. We'll go ahead and connect our motherboard, CPU, and our graphics card power cable. Now, this isn't probably proper building code, but I'm just gonna go ahead and connect all of these, which are the case cables, I mean your audio. And oh, I saved the worst part for last, connecting these stupid little cables. Some people are like, it's so easy. No, it's not. It sucks, and I don't know why motherboard manufacturers keep doing it. Okay, so this motherboard's a little weird. It doesn't have the standard power, HDD, LED light stuff that most motherboards have. I mean, it has a connector that's actually more simplistic, but I just wasn't used to it. So if there is an issue with this thing starting, it's likely that I did this wrong. Honestly, all we need to do is connect the fans and we're good to go. Boom. So, alrighty, so this case is ready to go with the exception of testing. We need to make sure that it boots up. So we're going to make sure it starts, and also post. So we'll catch you over there, but not before we get the segue to our sponsor. Alrighty, so now we've got it hooked up to our temporary setup. So we're going to turn on the power supply. This motherboard. Alrighty, so after some troubleshooting, we realized that the motherboard, there was a couple issues. The one with the little power connectors, we just had those wrong. We had to move those correctly so that way we could actually use the button on the computer to start it up, but then we had another issue. And when we tried to get it to boot, it would do nothing until we removed the graphics card. As you can see here, it's posted. What we're thinking is that it doesn't have the drivers because there's no OS installed on the SSD, and that's why it can't see this GPU. So when you plug in the GPU, it has no idea what to output because it wouldn't work in the internal graphics and it wouldn't work with that when this was installed. So what we're gonna do now is go ahead and install our operating system on there, get that up and running, and then we'll install the graphics card and its drivers and go from there. So now, we have Zorin OS, and we're gonna go ahead and put it in the back right here. Try or install Zorin. We're gonna do modern NVIDIA drivers. Yep, we'll just let it check the disk, and then we should be good to go. Alrighty, now that Zorin is installed, we're going to restart now. Install this right here in the NVIDIA settings, NVIDIA RTX 3060. So right now, the last thing to do is just clean up this setup right here, and we have a fully functioning workstation. All right, so the computer is now finished. We'll have some videos down the line showing off any tweaks or performance stuff we do to it. And I mean, for $110, which was a M.2 drive, which is insanely fast, and a cooler, this thing is great, honestly. I mean, all the parts that we had, they were just sitting around. We didn't have a use for them, but combining them together and upcycling them, we have a pretty nice machine to edit on. And I always like using old parts, and hopefully we can inspire you to do the same. We hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching NoPlan.